You know, they're shooting people indiscriminately in the streets. And they were going to look, this was a big thing for me, they were going to hang 830,
Right.
It's a rough place. It's a place that we hit very hard with the nuclear, ending the nuclear. They would have had a nuclear weapon long ago. It's actually already done. They would have had a nuclear weapon probably a month after we hit, had we not hit. You know, we have a lot of ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction. We have a big force going toward Iran.
Reports that the USS Abraham Lincoln has moved into the Persian Gulf, that the US has drawn down personnel from several regional bases, and that the CENTCOM commander visited Israeli Defense Forces headquarters on Saturday all signal rising military tension. But these moves point less to a clear march towards war and more to a strategy of controlled pressure, projecting force while trying to avoid a conflict whose political outcome no one can confidently shape. When Trump told Iranian protesters that help is on the way, it sounded like a promise of direct backing. Yet Washington has long been wary of turning moral support into an open regime change commitment. Once the US is seen as actively trying to topple a government, it becomes tied to whatever comes next. Even the prospect of democracy in Iran, while hopeful in theory, carries risks in practice. A sudden political opening in a country with deep factional divides, armed institutions, economic crisis, and regional rivalries could produce prolonged instability, not immediate liberal order. A fractured or transitional Iran could unsettle the Middle East for years, something regional states and global powers alike quietly fear. That concern helps explain why rhetoric about freedom often gives way to talk of negotiations and off-ramps. The tragic reports of thousands of protester deaths intensify the moral stakes, but they don't simplify the strategy. A more direct external push might just as easily have triggered an even harsher crackdown, broader regional escalation through Iranian proxies, or a failed confrontation that leaves the regime more entrenched. From a hard-nosed strategic perspective, imperfect containment can appear less dangerous than a dramatic intervention with no clear endgame. Military deployments like the USS Lincoln fit this pattern. A carrier strike group cannot protect demonstrators in Iranian cities. What it can do is deter Iranian retaliation, reassure partners, and increase US leverage in negotiations over nuclear and regional issues. It is a tool for shaping state behavior, not internal political transformation. Energy politics also shape the calculus. Hard pressure on Venezuela and tighter control over its oil output have reduced some of Washington's fears about a sudden supply shock. With slightly more cushion in global energy markets, US policymakers feel somewhat less constrained by the risk of immediate price spikes than in past Iran crises. That doesn't remove the danger, but it widens the room for coercive signaling. Still, a central problem remains. There is no organized, credible alternative ready to govern Iran. The opposition is courageous but fragmented. Reza Pahlavi, the Shah's son, has visibility abroad but limited demonstrated legitimacy inside the country, especially among younger Iranians. He has not presented a detailed domestic roadmap on economic recovery, security reform, or political transition. When an opposition figure appears more defined by the foreign alignments he would offer than by concrete social contract at home, grassroots traction remains weak. For Washington, that raises the risk that collapse leads not to democracy, but to power struggles or fragmentation. Regional diplomacy adds further constraints. In past crises, countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan openly lobbied Washington not to attack Iran. Today, their positions are more cautious and mixed, but none are eager for a full-scale war on their doorstep. The US must weigh their fears of instability alongside their concerns about Iran's nuclear and regional ambitions. Interestingly, here Israel's role only deepens the dilemma. Close US-Israel coordination may prepare for contingencies, but a major confrontation with Iran could derail fragile diplomatic efforts over Gaza and broader regional arrangements. Though the hardliners in Israel have incentives to prioritize security crises over political compromise, complicating any pathway towards long-term stabilization. The result is a strategy heavy on signals but light on endgames. Push too hard, and the region could slide into a conflict that buries diplomacy for a generation. Push too softly, and nuclear escalation and proxy warfare grow. At the heart of Iran policy lies a strategic void. The tools of pressure are clear, but the political future they are meant to produce remains undefined.